Hey everyone, this is Stu with the Military Investor Network, and today I have the pleasure of talking to Anna and Ken Hummel. What's up, guys? How are you?
Hi, how are
Hey,
you?
how's it going?
Doing fantastic. So, a little bit about Anna and Ken. They live in Colorado Springs, and they are both Army veterans who are now getting some skin in the real estate game. They have 6 rental units, which consist of multifamily and single-family homes, and they are in the process of doing their first flip. They have a company called A&K Homes, and they have managed to break away from their W-2 jobs just recently and are focusing on real estate, and they've done all of this in just 2 years. That's pretty fantastic. So Anna, Ken, welcome. And hey, tell me a little bit more about what you guys are doing, what you're focused on, what your business is all about.
So right now, most of our focus is on rentals, and the properties we buy are usually not so pretty, and they need a little bit of love and care, and usually under market value. So we'll buy those, give them a little bit of love, and then rent them out for a higher price than what they were. We're also getting started with flipping. So we're working on flipping one house right now, but that was kind of almost forced upon us. It wasn't really the plan, which we'll talk more about later.
Okay. Yeah. So you're kind of doing a mix of like a live-in flip slash house hacking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of both. I mean, from our first house that we purchased, which was an ugly house that we both remodeled while we lived there. And then we also rented out rooms to friends of mine while we were living there and renovating. So that was a super hack.
Yes. So your roommates were okay with all the renovations going on at the same time that you're living it?
Always.
Yeah, there's a couple sit downs and conversations we had to have about water not being turned on, working on bathrooms and having to share different bathrooms and everything. But everybody was a good sport, and everybody was able to work through it.
Okay. Those are some good friends. That's a pretty good find for roommates there. So tell me how you guys got started. Like what first got you interested in doing this? Why the live and flip and the house hack? Give me a little background on that and tell me about that.
So I guess for me, my first start was we have a friend named Joel McNeil. He's a local real estate agent and an investor himself. He was actually my roommate's best friend at the time and would come over and just want to share his knowledge. So he sat down with me one day and just sat there and showed me what we were capable of doing and what I should be doing. And at first it was a little scary. It took me about a year until we actually did something there. And I guess it's a little bit easier when you have a partner who has the same goals as you.
Yeah, absolutely. All of these are in Colorado Springs, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And currently you have a fourplex, and tell me what you guys have on your portfolio right now.
We have a fourplex, 2 single-family homes, a condo. Oh, and I guess in the home we live in.
Yeah. The home we're in right now, we're working on remodeling while we're living here, and we'll probably stay here for at least 2 years. That way we can defer capital gains.
Okay. And so that brings up another question, as far as just, you guys both being veterans, are you using your VA loan to initially buy these properties?
So we did it first. Ken bought a single-family home that's right outside Fort Carson with his VA loan, and then in June, we purchased our fourplex with my VA loan.
That's awesome. Very cool. And so are you able to then refinance out of that and do it again, or are you just kind of keeping that VA loan on those 2 properties?
So the long-term plan will be to either refinance out of my VA loan, or the renters that we currently have in there are willing to buy that home, and they love it so much, then we might sell that so we can take the profits in 1031 into another investment.
Okay. Awesome. So, what's your goals? What do you have, big goals for A&K Homes? What's the end means for you guys?
So let somebody else do it for us eventually.
Yeah, right now I'm the maintenance worker, and she's the office worker, and we still, although we don't have W-2 jobs, we still have a job in the sense of having to take care of what we currently have. It's not as intrusive as our other jobs were, but um, ideally we can continue to build our empire to the point where we have enough residual income, passive income, that we can step out of this role and fill it with someone else.
Yeah. Well, gosh, I mean, you guys have already gotten a great start of creating enough passive income to be able to leave your W-2 job. So it seems like you're not too far off from getting there. So I commend you guys for taking those steps. It's pretty awesome. Tell me about some either tools or resources that have helped you with this strategy of what you're doing.
Well, I think Bigger Pockets has helped us a whole lot. And our friend Joe, really every time we've gone through this process, we've used him as a realtor, and his knowledge is just valuable to us. So we definitely reach out to him when we have questions. And
yeah, I used to, when I worked my W-2 job, I used to listen to a podcast a day, like an episode a day. And so listening to how other people started in, similar situations and were able to, work their way up to where we want to be, it's motivating, and it's just showing that it can be done. Other than that, it's just a matter of doing it and, getting going. It's a scary idea, but it works out in the end.
So, and Ken, you said you're doing like most of the construction work yourself. I mean, do you have a background in that, or are you literally like watching YouTube videos and then doing it? I mean, how are you doing all this construction yourself?
Well, I've got a little bit of background. So I was a engineer in the Army. And then when I got out of the Army, I was a construction superintendent. So I have a general understanding, but for the most part, if I have questions, I still Google things. I still look on YouTube and, step-by-step tutorials. There's a lot of things out there that are easier than you think they are.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of the stuff is incredibly scary for me to do. So I choose to just have somebody else do it, even if it is like way more money. But good on you, man. I guess I don't have the courage yet to take on those projects.
I figure worst case scenario, it doesn't come out how I think it should, and I just tear it down and try again, and nothing else, I learned something, and that's beneficial.
That's fantastic, man. I love it. So speaking of like things falling apart and not doing it right, is there? You guys told me a story when we met at our local meetup about your fourplex of you guys basically fuming yourselves out. Tell our listeners that story real fast. I thought it was hilarious.
Well, Ken likes to do things the hard way sometimes, and we were refinishing our wood floor that was already in that unit. We sanded it down, stained it, and we locked ourselves into one room. I kept trying to tell Ken that the smell was way too bad to sleep in, and he just kept saying, well, just sleep. It's okay. Once you fall asleep, it won't be that bad. We got to the point that it was that bad, and I couldn't fall asleep, and Ken's halfway asleep and just pushing through it. We ended up having to climb out our window and sleeping in our vehicle that night because it just was not something you should be breathing in. And
I think because I was applying the first coat of polyurethane to it. And I think because I was close enough to it that by the time I, worked my way backwards from the house into the room we were going to sleep in, that I've already inhaled enough of the fumes. I was like, oh no, I feel great. This isn't a big deal at all.
You're probably like super high and like, all is well in your world.
This is great. We'll just sleep here and then apply the next coat. I think I was planning on applying the next coat at like 3 a.m. I set my alarm because we were going to do 3 total coats. And then, I was going to do one at 3, then let that sit and do another one in the evening the next day. But that didn't end up working out for us. So we ended up sleeping in the car, and we couldn't get to the car keys because they were hanging on the living room wall, and I locked all the doors as I worked my way back into the room. So I mean, that was a bit of a challenge. I mean, but most recent we had another challenge come up on a single family home that we purchased in December. We bought this house, and then it needed new paint, new carpet, and some touch up finishes. And so we had paint done, and then carpet guys came in and replaced the carpet. And as you probably know, carpet guys like to crank up the heat because it's easier to stretch the carpet for them, so installation goes smoother.
Okay.
And so I told him, I was like, go ahead, crank up the heat. Doesn't bother me. Have a good install. And I actually knew the guys from my superintendent job. And I was like, just go ahead, lock up the house when you're done. Not a big deal. Well, 3 days later, we got a call from a neighbor saying that the house was flooding and water was pouring out the garage. So we went there and looked at it, and sure enough, what we suspect happened is either the furnace happened to quit around the same time, or the carpet guy turned off the heat to the house, and being Colorado, the house froze and pipes burst, and then ended up flooding the house for 3 days before we got to it.
Oh man. So was there a lot of damage done?
It was pretty much everything is gone. The nice thing is we had just bought appliances, so those didn't get destroyed. The kitchen was completely gutted. Both living rooms. There's a family room, living room, the whole basement, 2 of the bedrooms. The only thing that didn't get touched was the master bedroom.
Yeah, all the new carpet we just put in, even the new paint, all the walls had to be flood cut, 2 feet high. Electrical, the outside. Luckily though, because we had insurance, even though it was only for 4 days, insurance did cover it, and we're in the process of using that money now to remodel it and actually give it a better remodel than it was going to be.
Yeah.
Which puts us at a higher price point than the type of renters we'd be looking for.
Yeah.
So we'd get a better return from flipping it than we would trying to rent it at that higher price point, where there's just not that many customers who want to rent at that price point that it'd be worth. And that's why earlier we kind of got pushed into this scenario that we didn't really plan on.
Okay. Well, it's, it shows that that real estate can sometimes, not be as glorious as people make it out to be on all these podcasts and, blogs of making, millions of dollars immediately. There are definitely some bumps and bruises along the way. And it's fantastic that you guys are taking from it, learning from it, and coming up with a new plan and continuing to move forward. It's awesome. Well, I'm sorry that you guys are having to go through that, but it's all a part of the journey, right?
Yeah, and really, it's a blessing in disguise.
Yeah,
so.
It needed a lot of love, so kind of
good.
worked out in our favor.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, good. All right. Well, anything else that you guys want to add to the listeners, kind of about your story, and we'll go into the round of requesting for information. Anything else?
No, just that we're pretty open as far as contact goes, and we're happy to help out, especially veterans, and anybody who has questions. We don't have all the answers, but we're willing to work through problems and troubleshoot and brainstorm through issues, because that's what we like doing, and it's the puzzle of everything and figuring things out that we enjoy. Kind of like the puzzle we're in now, because now that we don't have W-2 jobs, banks don't want to give us loans anymore. So even when we do see good products on the market, because we're always looking, now we have to find a private lender to finance. And so that's our current puzzle. So if there's any private lenders that of, or that we can get recommendations for, that's our next step, so that we can continue moving forward with what we're currently working on.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, there's a plug for you out there for any private lenders that we're wanting to work with Anna and Ken in Colorado Springs. Reach out to them, and we'll get your contact information at the end. That's fantastic. Okay, so request for information round. First, what is your favorite education resource? Either it's a book, you guys mentioned podcasts, What have you found to be most resourceful for you?
So, I mean, obviously podcasts through Bigger Pockets for me. And then also the Tim Ferriss's book for our work week, especially applies to us being how we're trying, we're going from the WT job of working 40, 50 hours a week to actually, being able to manage almost a 4-hour work week, ideally. We'll get there.
Yeah, that's a great book. Anna, what about you?
Networking, I think, has helped me the most. So talking to other investors who've already done what we've done and are willing to share that information with us, I think that's a little bit more valuable with the one-on-one FaceTime that we get with the other investors.
Yeah, no, that's super important, and that's how we met, right? You guys came up to Denver from Colorado Springs to a meetup that I had put on. Are you guys going to meetups down there in Colorado Springs at all?
No, I don't think there's very many. I know there's the Bigger Pocket one that's coming up on the 21st, the 3rd annual.
Yep.
We're going to attend, but we haven't seen any here locally in Colorado Springs.
Okay.
Considering maybe putting one together, figuring something out and hosting it, because, getting people together is the biggest way to, learn more, not only about, the business and strategy, but about yourself and what you're lacking and how other people can help you.
Yeah.
One of the guys that we met down at your meeting last month, we've been reaching out to him, and we have dinner plans coming up soon so that we could at least figure out how to help each other, since we're both in Colorado Springs, and he struggles with renters, and that's something I'm really good at, is learning how to manage the renters and the leasing portion, how to market your property. So it's kind of nice to meet other people who are doing the same thing we are, and kind of find our strengths and weaknesses in others too.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, I would love to help in any way I can to, if you guys need, either posting on Military Investor Network or whatever, as far as getting your meetup going down there. I think it's a great tool for sure. Well, good. All right. So if there was one thing you guys could tell your younger self, what would it be?
Do it sooner.
Yeah, I definitely would have been purchasing a property at least once every year while I was in the military. If I would have known, especially with Colorado Springs market and how housing just keeps going up and up in value. So
yeah. That's good. Yeah, I wish I had started earlier too. I think we probably all do. All right, what is one piece of advice you would give to another service member or veteran that wants to do the same thing that you guys are doing?
Say not to be scared to do it. I know it sounds scary because it took me a while, but the sooner you get started, it's easier. And once you learn from others, share your information, because that's the most valuable thing that I've learned, is that without our friend teaching us a whole lot, we wouldn't be as successful. So I think it's important to use other people, use their knowledge and their experiences.
That's great. Okay. Well, cool. Well, guys, how can people get in touch with you if they want to reach out to you there in Colorado Springs?
Well, we have LinkedIn.
We both have a LinkedIn, and Anna does all the business side of things. So.
Okay. Are you guys on Bigger Pockets?
We are, actually. I think we both have an account.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how we found you guys. Yeah.
Okay. Well, good. And then I know you're a member of Military Investor Network as well. All right. So LinkedIn, Bigger Pockets, Military Investor Network, and hopefully we can get
email address.
Yeah, you can email Anna.
Yeah.
Very
that's nice of you, Ken, to give.
Yeah. No, don't email me. Email her.
Responsive if you email Tim, but very responsive, and we're both very willing to help anybody who needs the help. So if you have any questions, we're free to answer them.
Cool. All right. Well, great. Well, thank you guys so much. I wish you the best of luck. Let's continue to stay in touch. Hopefully I can come down to Colorado Springs and meet with you guys sometime soon. And the best of luck to you.
Great. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.